It's another day. Well, it's supposed to be Monday, but I don't know what day you press play, but I hope you're pressing play. And again, I'm inviting you to put a comment in the YouTube, and also you may send me an email at nationmind2021@gmail.com. nationmind2021@gmail.com. I really want to hear from you. It will help me to know what you need in terms of conversation and topics, and I'll be able to satisfy, because this is something that we are going to be working on, and I'm trusting that you will be following us as we go along. But I want to continue on this year-end scenario that we have been discussing. I think the conversations are fine. I know some of you are busy around this time and may not be able to press play as often as I would want you to press play. But I'm hoping you really capture this, or if it's not for this year, next year. But I know year-end usually creates a lot of dynamics that are sometimes unfriendly to us, and everybody's about themselves, trying to do things prettily, their homes, getting lots of gifts, and then somewhere along the line, I'm asking the question, what about me? We are all trapped in doing so much for everybody else. Painting the house, making it good for our friends, baking cake and getting pastels for people to come and eat, getting decorations for the tree, for the children, for the family members. It's always about doing something for. But I want to ask the question today. I want you to help me in this conversation. What about you? What about me? Where do we fit in? How do we really survive the you and me? So here am I, trying to find the resources to satisfy others. I have needs. I would like to see something. I would maybe like to buy me a particular gift. I would like to maybe say, hey, maybe I could go for a holiday, or maybe I could take a trip. But one of the things that I want to distinctly look at is how we really find a means not to feel guilty about what we are discussing here, in terms of you maybe taking some funds or resources or time away from what is expected of you in terms of the hustle and bustle, and spend it on you. We have not been so challenged or directed to really think about us in these times of celebration. Celebration is about always somebody, especially the Christmas season, when we are at the year end thinking about how to really satisfy everybody and to make sure that they have the gifts, as we said earlier, the food, etc. But how do I sit with this? Am I ready to pay attention to my needs, to what I think my Santa Claus should give me, opposed to that maybe at your age, at our age of adulthood, or even midlife, and even later life? What do I need? But yet, there is some satisfaction of you wanting to have a particular context realized, so that you can become much more involved as a person and releasing your emotions much more readily to identify with what's around you. You know, let's start with preparation for. And I can't tell you what the for is. You can put those dots in. But as again, we could repeat the financial resources. Yes, I'm working hard at that. I may have to do double jobs, work late to get some overtime, because the list is so long for me to go out there. But by the time I've satisfied that list, and I look at my shoes, or I think I just need to go to a hotel or go to a restaurant and sit, do I have the money for that? But yet I am stressed, because the stressors out there are demanding with expectations. And it's a culture out there that says, hey, don't forget people, this is not about you, this is about us. But yet I have needs. I would like to sit somewhere and sip something maybe, or drink or eat. I would like to find my inner self being satisfied and saying, yes, I can find a refreshing here to go again. But here am I not being able to do that. And I come home after work and I'm faced with cleaning, because it's systematic. I start breaking down, the curtains, clean the windows, shelving the whole house, from every cupboard, every window, every wall. Oh, and then somebody says paint, and I have to go look for that. And somebody says, oh, this has been broken. And so if I get refreshed today, by tomorrow my refreshing is exacerbated because I have all these things to do. Can I say, look, give me some time just to maintain some refreshing, and to say, wow, it feels so good just to do nothing. Just to come home and maybe have a meal, or haven't had one, just to have some coffee, or for some of you who may want to have a sip of wine, or to have a television show, without feeling the pressure of hassling. And by the time I'm finished with that, the next day comes along, and I have to go furnish all these expectations, whether it's to the hardware shop or somewhere else, and then to really realize what is going on in terms of whether or not I am defining myself. It's important for me to realize where I am and what I am doing, and how it has to be done very expeditiously. Very expeditiously. So, by the middle of the first week, I'm again having to feel pressured. And these stressors are not just sometimes just not a social base, it's a cultural base. It's an expectation from family members that you must do this. And then you hear, Daddy, let's go here, or Mommy, let's go here, or we want to have some pre-dinner, we want to go somewhere. And how do I say no? Can I say no? What about me? I'm going to put it in again. What about me? I need to say yes. No, I can't say no. I can say, look, give me a few more days. The next week comes, and people say, but it's coming near to December 25th, or it's coming near to the end. You know, what's going to happen? But so I am here pressed now, trying to work out the financials, trying to work out the social, and the physical. Do I have the strength to do all this? Do I have the strength to paint? Do I have the strength to handle? Could I ask somebody? Everybody's busy. So I feel that there is something coming down against me here that creates that kind of psychological dysfunction. I'm getting frettish, I'm quarreling, I'm shouting. And then I hear, oh, what kind of Grinch are you? Oh no, I'm not a Grinch. I'm just wish like somebody to think about me. I am just one person. And we find this a lot, even though there are other family members. But there are certain expectations that seem to come onto the head of the family, or particular uncle, particular person, aunt, that needs to really identify what these things are. How do we measure, or how do we not measure? And so by the time we reach down to the other issues, we realize that there can be the feeling now of being taken advantage of, or not, or disadvantaged. How do I work that? How do I manage to feel that, hey, am I bubbly here now? Or I'm just being whipped to and fro. And if I say no, what's going to happen to me? So that there's something that we need to identify in terms of how are we working out that context of mismanagement, or what others would call mismanagement, but what I would call trying to work out. So I find myself feeling a little dejected or rejected, and not being identified with my own needs, and then I am also working with self-assurance. I don't think I can do this anymore. But there is still the need for me to realize that it is expected of me. So I am going to find myself maybe in a place where I'm very moody. Oh, I don't want to come home. Or I'm taking a long time. But yet, if I come home, all the things have to go push back into the time. So if I do come home earlier, I will finish earlier. But if I could come home late, I go later. Maybe I should come home later, then I could make an excuse to say, I can't do this anymore. I have to wait till next month, no, next week, or next couple of days. And then I hear a lot of bickering, maybe, or quarreling, or a negativity coming out towards me. So I have these negative emotions to work with in order to survive. And again, what about me? Is anybody thinking about me? Is anybody asking the question, what does he need? And then I decide I would like to get a gift for myself. Or where am I getting that financial resources from? how can I get it? I have to work a PJ maybe, or do something extra, or maybe go to the bank and get a loan, just to say that I have this particular item, whether it's a musical, whatever it is, whether it's something I like to do in terms of my interests, or whether I want to do some bill, or maybe to just apply or to sign up for some course that is available around Christmas time with some discount. So I am here trying to find out how am I going to execute this desire without creating a burden for me with a loan maybe, and just learn to use what I have. But that would mean I'm depleting somebody else's fundings in order for them, for what they're going to get or not get. I am going to realize that, hey, there's a need for me to come into that space where I am really establishing how I am going to be functioning for the next couple of days. What am I going to say? So I am here wanting to help us come into a place where there is a need for me to really identify some of the factors that are important for how I am overcoming life, which is the element at this year-end story. And how do I overcome the stress within my environment? So that I work in an environment, in my employment, wondering and thinking about getting home and the stress of doing, and I have the stress at my office and the exacting of my supervisors and wanting to meet their demands because it's time, and then we know that people are getting days off to go shopping or do things, and I'm going to get that day too. But when those people go, I have more pressure to me because I have to answer more questions. So there's that continuum of a stressful issue, whether the stress is acute or whether it's chronic, it's stress. And for some of us, we cannot handle that stress. So therefore, as I said earlier, we come into those psychological issues of having moods, or having anxieties, and we have the bursting out of the verbal abuse, and we find ourselves shouting. So we have to learn how to work ourselves within our environments in context of time and space. How do I define this in a psychosocial context? How do I make sure that though I'm here, there is that psychosocial context? I need to get my mind established with purpose and order, and I need to realize that socially I am establishing a particular function here. So that when I blend both in terms of the psychosocial, how do I lean back in my chair and breathe and say, wow, yes, all that I've heard before is real. I'm able to take some time off. I'm able to go to a bar. I'm able to go to swim. I'm able to go do some exercise. I'm able to buy something. I'm able to shop all by myself, just to breathe. How do I create that environment without the guilt? Without feeling that I am not overstepping or looking at some particular position where I am in a dream. Did I say that? Yes. You dreaming, man. You could not be thinking about all those things around now. No. This is the end. This is not about you. You can't be thinking about yourself and wondering what you need and how you need it and why you need it. Isn't that selfish? No, it's not selfish. No. We have to breathe. As a matter of fact, this is not just about the end. This is about life. How we are able to exercise a daily control of our stresses that overcomes the hassle and makes us hardy. I could entertain anniversaries, birthday celebrations, with all those expectations of supplying what is needed from the person, especially if it's a spouse. You can't forget that day, otherwise, stressor. The child, Daddy, you forgot me. You don't think about me. We always seem to be, as an individual, pressed into a place where we are not to be feeling comfortable, or where we feel guilty as not to supply, we become the big person who is identifying those issues of making sure things happen. So when it comes down to year end, when it becomes a little more voluminous in terms of the public commercials, the shopping, the buying, the residential issues of change and paint and varnishing and getting all the tree and the decorations and the food ready and getting the menus and making sure you invite who, because Christmas Day is ours, Boxing Day is yours, this day is, wow, what about me? I would like to go nowhere this year. That has never happened before. We have a culture. Every year, this house. Christmas Day, every year, that house. Stay home? No. You are not going to make me shame, says the voice outside. That people will be asking, where is, we will tell them I'm home. Or maybe tell them I'm at the beach. Or tell them the truth. Can I have that privilege of just not going anywhere? You see, why I'm talking about this, I have had my experiences. So it's not just a whole issue of psychology here, it's a reality. I've had my wife and I wanting to do something different. And even though I stated to my family members, especially mainly my parents, that I will be away for Christmas, I started this conversation in June. So in August I said it again. In October I said it again. In November I said it again. Don't you remember we'll be here for Christmas? So when the beginning of December, just before we left the country, because I wanted to experience Christmas in another country, to find out another culture. As a researcher, you want to see what it pertains in other countries and how people respond to this year-end situation. So it's a dual thing for me, for my wife, which is part of holiday. Where are you going? What? You won't be here? But we have been having this conversation since June. No, that was not. Even though you hear, yeah, all right. No, it's not seasoning, it's not getting into the cerebellum, and it's not coming back out to the lobes that will hit the frontal lobe, that will bring some reality of cognition. It's a whole drama of, you can't do this, we always have this, every year, who will bring this? Somebody else will. Or I could leave money. No! So it was a lot to internalize. I started to feel guilty that I'm removing from culture, I'm disorganizing something, I'm really making my parents uncomfortable. What about my siblings and my nephews, my family members, who are going to be expecting me, especially the firstborn, who normally would say the opening prayer, and my wife and I would sing carols. So who's going to do all that? Well, I had to come to terms with somebody is going to have to do all that. And since then, we started to miss Christmases. Until now, we just don't spend Christmas at home anymore. We travel to different countries. And of course, with COVID-19, we traveled to, what do you call it, staycations. But it was about me. There was a year that I did nothing but stayed home. I shouldn't say I didn't do anything. I marked papers. Shh. Dr. Nice marked papers. But I did not go out of the house. I just wanted to be home. And marking papers was my wife, while my wife rested between meals, I got the comfort of marking papers, because don't forget, you had to submit by the next week, which is the first week in January. So it was comfortable for me. But again, I learned to breathe and say there was not that press of that cultural demand on my life that I had to supply, or I had to be present, or I had to push myself into something I thought was not necessary at that time for me. And so we also wondering to wonder, Kenneth, you might be saying, Dr. Nice, do you think that's really selfish? But how do you break a culture of 25, 26 years? I met the culture, by the way, that it seemed to have become before my time, when all the cousins would meet at my grandmother's house. And when my grandmother's grandfather was too weak to do anything, it came to my mother's house. And so you lived it from early childhood, way back before I got married. And then when I got married, it was then after when you try to, even where we try to shift it to say, okay, mommy and daddy, let's get to other homes. And no, it has to be in the patriarch's home or the matriarch's home. And for us, it was matriarch. And so everybody came there. We could not shift that. So you're realizing that even the culture was something that you had to watch. And that culture created a tradition which creates the norm. And when you get to norms in terms of psychosocial, you can't shift that. No matter what, you're going to be an outcast. You're going to be rejected for the rest of the year. He did not turn up. He missed. He just denied us. He didn't care. So you have to learn now to work with these innuendos that are negative, derogative for the next 11 months until you redeem yourself at the next year end. What about me? I think it's important, and even the me could be singular here in terms of spouses, when you are now in your own home, thinking that we too could be a me. What about me, Niles? What about me, Edwards? What about me, Francis? Can we decide that we are not going to go to that home? Let's go to this one instead. Boxing Day, we do something else. But there is always the fear of tipping the boat and having to pay the consequences of a year-long or 11-month-long attack of the absence and the feeling of not being caring, and etc. Those 11 months could be very awkward because people don't realize that you are going to be suffering from what may be called bullying, harassment, verbal abuse. And you always have to be wondering, if I go to a birthday party, or if I go to visit and say, hi, auntie, or hi, grandma, the prodigal has come home. Or you might hear something like, and so you always have to be facing these negative innuendos for the rest, until you decide that next year end, you have to do it differently. But my question again is, what about me? Do you have a life that you want to preserve in terms of just making a decision about you and recreating a new dynamic for a culture that you want to decide will be? Can you therefore determine our own cultures? Or are we just to be living a life where we are continually perpetuating the cultures of our ancestors, the cultures of our forefathers, without realizing that we have the permission from ourselves to redefine a culture that is necessary for us to work for the rest of our lives as me, satisfying my own heart, my own mind, the freedom of my expression, the freedom of my joys, the freedom of my amygdala, the freedom of my of my frontal lobe that says, hey, I just want to go fish today. Even though it's Christmas, even though it's Boxing, whatever day as I said, for birthdays, do I have to buy a gift for you? Do I have to take you to a party? Do I? How do we create these individualisms without creating this parity within the whole? Can we therefore begin to say to others, this is fresh, this is something I would like to do, could you please appreciate it? Because it has value. And just as how my ancestors still has value today in 2023, can my newness bring a whole reality in 2050? For somebody to say, hey, it's a good thing that we can maybe, as a couple, as our new home with our family, pack a picnic basket, go to a beach, go to the gardens, go for a drive, and just enjoy this year end differently. So I thought this conversation might help you as individuals, as a person, or even as I said just now, the I meaning my wife and I, or the I could mean my family, as against breaking, and how you don't need to feel that negativity and to be overwhelmed with guilt, knowing that you are free to identify your own emotions and your own ideologies, of course, that brings you into uniqueness of yourself. So I trust Dr. Knight is able to help you and to help you fashion a future context and to how to work out you. So just let me say here as I end and as I work out, the whole issue of looking for that social support may not be a reality, because who is going to support you? Your parents may not say yes, your cousins and other relatives may say, but look for the support within. Look for the support. If you have that from your spouse, that's great. But what you need to do is to redefine, not just an argument for, but to redefine a perspective that you need to say, I love this. This makes me smile. This makes me happy. So, have a good year in. Individually, don't pressure yourself. Don't try to meet all the social needs, the financial needs, the physical needs, and lose you in the midst of it. Remember, you are an individual and it's priceless for your tomorrow. So, have a good year, have a good me, have a good time. That's what Dr. Knight is saying. Good year end. And redefine for yourself a very merry day, a very merry self. So therefore, you can really have a very merry New Year. God bless you.